Yo, how are you doing, folks? Welcome to episode 67 of the Simpa Life Podcast. We are slowly ticking our way up to triple figures. It's a busy old week. I think we're actually going to get 3 recordings in this week. Not that you'll know, but you can start to see the bags under my eyes from the hours of editing I was doing on Outlaws podcast last night, which by the time you're hearing this, I'm assuming you've already been over and heard. And if not, go check it out. Well worth it. It's going to be quite an investment of your time, several hours, but worth doing. Hopefully we'll be a bit more lighter with today's guest. Hopefully we'll leave you with a good glow and complexion. We'll leave you feeling plump and hydrated and refreshed, as they are what I would like to consider an expert within the cosmetics field here within the UK. They are the creator, founder and owner of Hempress UK, a British cannabis cosmetics company that specialises in small batch cannabis-infused vegan and cruelty-free cosmetics. Today's guest is Amy Lou Auker. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. How are you doing?
Yeah. Really well, thank you. Wow, what an introduction. Literally, that was amazing. Thank you so much. Yeah, really, really well. Busy days ahead, just like yourself, really. Things are starting to pick up now that the longest month ever has been completed and we've made it to the end. Bring on, the rest of the year.
Yeah, I think I was thinking this the other day, and I can't remember, I was talking about the days of the month. I'm like, why does January have 31 or February 28? Why not just even this out? And I was like,
swap it round, yeah.
No, but you kind of want to get all of the days out in January, because then you feel like you've accomplished it. You've really put a month behind you. You're like, right, we've done the dark days. It's getting brighter. It's getting warmer. And then obviously February, it feels cutting those extra couple of days off in February. I don't know, you kind of feel like you get to March faster. And as soon as you're in March, you're like, well, spring's there. I can't be that sad.
No, I know. And then literally summer's right around the corner. So, and we do it all again and again.
I mean, I will advocate for, let's just kind of summer all year round. I mean, I have said for a long time, if it was possible, I would quite happily drag the British Isles a good couple of 100 miles south so that we could be in warmer climates.
Yes, definitely. Don't get me wrong. I quite like winter. I like that where you can snuggle up and you look out the window and it's all wet and rainy and the wind's blowing. But yeah, you can't beat that sun and the vitamin D and being able to just get out and about.
Yeah, just miss during the winter and autumn months being able to get up in just a t-shirt. As soon as I go near my front door, the closer I get with each step, my brain's like, it's gonna be cold. It's gonna be cold. So get a coat, get a hoodie, right? What, double, triple layers. It's
Not the one.
It's not indeed.
And especially as well, I don't know if you're the same, but the weather quite affects my mood. So I have like anxiety and I've had like bouts of depression and things throughout my life. But the weather definitely, like those dark, gloomy days, they really can affect me. So I feel like I have to do more sort of inner work and making sure I keep on top of things. Whereas the summer, I just feel like things flow a lot more easier. And like you say, you're getting the vitamins from the sun and it's nice.
I suppose it's kind of like the day and the year cycle are quite similar in a lot of ways. So you wake up in the morning and it's dark and it's sort of, you're groggy and you've got to work through it, and then you get into this awake period in the morning, and then you've got the bulk of the day, and then it starts to get sort of darker and colder, and you sort of settle down. And I think we need that to live through that cycle. If we were, as it were, on all the time, we never really rest, and I think we'd burn out a lot faster. I think we need to recognize the importance of rest and of relaxing and really enjoying the experience along the way.
Yeah, definitely. Cannabis and its compounds, they help, definitely.
oh, indeed. I would definitely agree with that. All right, let's jump straight into this. Go for it. Some people may have seen, obviously there is I think maybe a 10-minute interview with yourself from Product Earth.
I know, that feels so long ago.
Last year, God, yeah, it was only 6-7 months ago, but it feels already a whole nother world ago. But yeah, obviously we'll be getting ready for Product Earth and the events this year. So yeah, anybody that hasn't already seen, do check out the series of 9 interviews we did from last year, including one with young Amy here. And so for people that have not seen that or had any sort of interaction with you previously, could you sort of explain to us what inspired you to start Empress, this cosmetics company?
Yeah, so basically back in around about 2018, my little girl was 2 years old, so still relatively early days in the mum life. And I knew that it would be getting ready for time for her to, sort of start nursery and that next step of her life. And then I was thinking, okay, what am I going to do? And I've always known that if I was to ever have a child, that I wanted to be very much involved. I know, it's not through anybody's fault. People have to go out and work and money for bills and put food on the table. But I just, growing up, my mum, she worked in a factory, so she was always away all the time and she couldn't make it to events. And I think things like that, they do add up, and you do notice, especially as a child, because that's your whole life, isn't it? Your whole world. So yeah, I was very adamant on I wanted to do something at home, and I've always had a connection with cannabis since, my teens, and it's helped me just no end. I couldn't even really put into words. But yeah, so basically I'd come across a Canadian cannabis influencer, and she used to go to these, this was before it was all sort of like legalized there, and she would go to these like Thursday night markets, like canna markets, and she'd pick up all loads of different products, and then she'd sort of go on her stories on Instagram and sort of go through what she'd purchased. And one of them was a CBD bath bomb, and just instantly I was like, wow, like, I've always sort of liked my bath products and Lush and things like that, but I have to be careful because I've got sensitive skin, so fragrances and things can cause a reaction. But yeah, so she was sort of raving about it and saying about how it can help like ease like symptoms of anxiety and help sort of like aid with your sleep. So I was like, right, I need to find some of these. So I had a little look, and there was nothing I could find in the UK. And then I was like, do you know what? I've got the time. I'm going to give it a go. I'm going to get the ingredients and make it myself. I went to my local head shop. So shout out Kazam, based in Kings Lynn, Norfolk. They were selling like CBD oils. So I grabbed some of them. I got some essential oils and the other sort of basic ingredients to make in bath bombs. And as someone that finds it hard to believe in myself and always thought that I wasn't a creative person, I was kind of like, right, this probably isn't going to work, but instantly it worked. And I was like, oh, it must be a fluke. Like, this is just, so I did it again. And then I handed them out to friends and family, and the feedback was just amazing. And even using them myself, I could notice the difference to, sort of these, the bath bombs that you can get that are loaded with like bubble gum fragrance, and, they smell nice and they might sort of spark a childhood memory. But, for your skin, your mind, your body, your soul, they weren't quite, doing what you can get from CBD and essential oils and other plant-based ingredients. So that's kind of like how it come about. And like I say, the feedback I got from friends and family was just amazing. Like, it really warms my heart just thinking about it now. And then I kind of just never looked back, really. I did all the research into, sort of cosmetics in the UK, what you need, the legalities of it, and all of that, and sort of just slowly tick the boxes. And here I am, just over 4 years later, and it's amazing. I'm so grateful and blessed.
Wow, yeah. I remember I was met you quite early on, I suppose, into your journey, and you produced a series of bath bombs for the Durham Expo, the Autumn Expo event that we held in a hotel.
Yeah.
And
I loved that event.
People loved those bath bombs, and obviously most of the rooms had these big, huge feature. Like copper and all our big double porcelain baths, and and so for people to have sort of, they had a cannabis chocolate on their pillow, and they had a CBD bath bomb in the bathroom, I thought it really sealed kind of the quality of that event. And the fact that you'd made them bespoke as well with the colors, I thought was really, really cool.
Oh, thank you. So, I mean, it just creates, like you say, with the infused chocolate, and it's just such an experience like that, not many people get to experience because of all the legalities and things around it. But it really is just, there's so much more to cannabis than just smoking it. There's just there's such a variety.
So do you think, or would you seek to try to get products in sort of hotel chains? Because I know is one of the most profitable sort of avenues, is that if you produce a hand cream, like one of those series of products, like a hand cream, a wash, and a shampoo or whatever, if you then become a luxury brand and you then get partnered with the chains of hotels. So I was just thinking, like, exactly what I was thinking when I was booking this for Durham was, some of these people are going to travel 5-6 hours. I want them to turn up, be able to bit of chocolate, make a coffee in the room or a tea in the room, a couple of nibbles of chocolate, and get good relaxation with the THC in it. We give them all sorts of other different infused edibles and goodies. But then, they could settle down, have that bath, and just really settle. And then if they wanted to, go outside for a smoke, go get some dinner, go do whatever. It was all about, and I think that's the image I've got in my head for all of these little motels and posh hotels, is it comes with a cannabis gift basket.
It'd be amazing. Yeah, I'd never be at home. I'd be like, right, what hotel am I going to go to next?
Yeah.
But yes, yeah, it'd be great. Maybe we should all get together and look into opening up a little canna boutique hotel. That'd be amazing. One day we can all dream. It just needs to decriminalise. That'd be great. Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, we're obviously living in a bit of a postcode lottery in the UK with the different constabularies, and frankly, some of them effectively already have. There are clubs, coffee shops, cafes, different organisations. It's only going to be a matter of time before. I mean, people already sort of do 420 friendly accommodation. You've just got to kind of know how to ask for it.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, I'm obviously, I'll speak from a point of privilege from my position, in that because of what I do, typically I can reach out to an area or a couple of people in an area, and you'll find what is around there, and that most people will, not for money, but just kind of for respect of being a member of the community and for wanting to kind of learn from you and spend time with you, and reciprocally, of course, to gain further knowledge from each other, will then kind of put each other up. But yeah, I want to see that chain of, I mean, the vision I guess I've kind of got is if you're a member of a club or a coffee shop patron, or if you have some sort of card that attaches you to the community, as it were, you can then go into a hotel and they give you, I don't know, like a different package. Do you know, you go in and you spend an extra 50 quid or whatever, but your room doesn't happen to have a smoke alarm, and your room comes with, you know, all the different...
This basket full of, infused goodies. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that would be amazing. And I'd love to be a part of it.
Someday. I think honestly, if you look at hospitality as an industry, it's struggling. You know, COVID has really kicked the crap out of a lot of industries, whereas cannabis has been resilient. Look at, as soon as they've allowed us to gather back together, I think this year there is maybe 9 or 10 illegal events already planned, alongside the 3 major events in Boroughfest, Paradise, and Product Earth.
I know, going strong.
So yeah, it's going to keep building and building. You can't keep us down as a community. People want to consume and to socialize and to look at all of the other, I don't want to say niche, but kind of fringe and peripheral industries and applications. I mean, even with what you're doing, it's still quite a really new industry. I mean, globally, I think they've limited it to CBD in terms of their statistics, but they're saying that the industry will be worth somewhere in the reach of $2.5 billion by 2025 for CBD
crazy figures,
cosmetics. Yeah. But then I still feel that's a limitation on cannabis. So I recently met a woman that uses essential oils produced from cannabis. And so she's not using cannabinoids or really even terpenes. It's different compounds from within in the plant. So they're not scheduled. So then they're not included sort of within this 2.5 billion. I was just wanting to get your thoughts on, do you think there'll be a greater efficacy or a wider diversity of products if we could suddenly allow all of the cannabinoids? It's not just CBD isolate. We could put different oils, different extracts within it.
Definitely. You know, you've only got to think of like the entourage effect and things like that. Just, you know, even you say that, so isolating a compound, you know, CBD, okay, that's good. But then when you partner that with terpenes, you know, essential oils, there's so, and even like that, the other cannabinoids that belong to that plant, it just creates a whole different product that's probably packing more of a punch than the one that's just got the CBD and the, you know, the limitations on it. So I definitely do think to me, that's how I always sort of vision it in my head, is that it will open up, it will expand, and we'll be able to utilize and use more of this amazing plant, because like you say, just the effects that it has on your skin, and there's probably even things in the plant that we don't even 100% know about that could be beneficial to us, you know, not just for our skin, but for our inside as well.
Well, yeah, I mean, we've just literally, was it this year, back in the last year? I always struggle with January, trying to figure out when I've remembered something I've learned.
Who am I? Where am I?
Yeah. So basically, recently we've discovered volatile sulfur compounds, and these are a form of volatile organic compounds that are present in cannabis. And they theorized that there's a small group of them, you kind of consider them similar to terpenes, that are responsible for the skunky smell of cannabis. Wow. For that ubiquitous, you know, you walk down the street, smells like weed. You know, somebody's just smells like weed. That weed smell beyond the terps. They've just discovered those groups of compounds, and even within that, there's still proliferal compounds that are attached to that they have not then classified yet. So we're then jumping on like, oh, we've got this thing, and we're like, do we really even understand this? You've labeled it. You're 4 days into observing it, and now you're already trying to jump onto the next thing and the next thing. And this is what I feel is frustrating, that people like yourselves who are trying to do research and development around these sorts of products, you're hampered by the ignorance of others. You've learned your craft. You feel like
you hit a wall, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like you've learned your craft, and we're 2022 now. You've put in years with this, and you've really worked this from a small sort of, by doing everything. I mean, you still do, from as far as I can see, everything sort of by hand, and a one-woman army, frankly. But the presence and the notoriety that you have developed over that time because of the consistency and quality of your products, I think that could have been infinitum if you weren't restricted by, oh, it has to be just this and not that, and you can't do that and not this.
No, you do find even just cosmetics alone. So even if you take away cannabis, hemp, they have to be assessed, which is, a service that you pay for. It's not the cheapest, but I get why it's there. But with that, you tend to hit a brick wall. You might get one assessor that goes, okay, I'll assess your full spectrum or your distillate CBD, as long as you provide all of the certification and lab reports. But then you could come across another one, and it's, that they won't even look at you. They won't consider it unless, no, it has to be CBD isolate and just even that alone. And then I think, like, I really struggled with the terpenes when I wanted to get that approved in the hemp monster. And obviously they're not even like from the cannabis plant. So it was hard to explain. And yeah, it was really difficult. Obviously, like you say, you're trying to explain from just what you know and what what's accessible to you in regards to research. However, you're talking to somebody that's a chemist, they've got this. Yeah, I don't know. It's just like you say, it's a bit of a mix and match of what people know and what they have access to, and it makes it very difficult. Yeah, sometimes you feel like, I'm not here and like trying to create some sort of drug to, get out on the streets. I just want to make cosmetics and use the plant power.
Again, it shows the limitations of it. I speak quite often on this podcast of the restrictions of over specialization within an industry. So yeah, you'll be dealing with somebody that's then gone and got a high school education, gone to A levels, then gone to university, then probably done specialist education on top of that. And so they are so within their remit of knowledge, and then they've probably got a pre-existing prejudice because, well, drugs are bad. Why are drugs bad? Because they're illegal. I don't need to think about that. They're bad. I'm a chemist. I don't do drugs. We do compounds. And so you can see that they would then be focused within that worldview. But then you see, if you then found somebody who didn't have that same restriction, instead of them looking at you going, well, they're just trying to make drugs somehow. Well, if they could actually understand, well, no, you're never going to be able to get high purely from the cosmetic production of a cannabinoid. There are subdermal patches, things like that you can use to increase bioavailability and move towards the idea of actually really being able to get high exogenously that way. But the technology, as far as I'm aware, is not available, especially not for someone to make in their garage effectively. Do you know what I mean? So I think, yeah, the ignorance of the individual really hampers where you could go with this, because as you spoke of before, the entourage effect, really beneficial. I mean, the restrictions around these cannabis essential oils that I'm seeing now. I mean, this individual, I'm not going to name them or their brand, but they're, all power to them, are fighting to be called cannabis because they are cannabis. But the irony is they're being demonized for
using a word.
Yeah, because they don't contain in their product any cannabinoids or any restricted or controlled substances. So it's because they've chosen to speak truth and go, well, I've extracted an essential oil from cannabis, therefore it's a cannabis essential oil. And they go, no, it's a hemp essential oil. And they go, well, no, because it doesn't matter the cultivar it's come from. It's not. And this person's really gone hard on defending the name of cannabis. And so obviously people that have known me a long time, I doff my hat to that. That is, yes, that's the hill I will die on. Cannabis is cannabis. So I just would then worry about the restrictions of the potential of that. I mean, we're already we've got quite a bit of information developing around sort of CBD as an anti-inflammatory product as an isolate in cosmetics. what we don't really know is what these cannabis essential oils are doing. As you said before, all of these other compounds that we're only just starting to discover that are a part of a full extract or broad spectrum product, more likely full rather than a broad, and those effects on, you know, inflammation, on anything really, you know what I mean, on hair follicles, on the
and aromatherapy, you know, the same way as sort of lavender or, you know, chamomile and things like that, you know, that you've only got to sort of inhale them slightly and that they have an effect on you. So it's just kind of like, you know, what is that doing for you, you know, for calming somebody's nerves or being able to help you sleep a little bit better at night without having to, you know, use sleeping pills and things that, you know, in the long run nobody wants to be taken forever, or to use things like that because it isn't good for you. And, you know, and even that, these single compounds, these essential oils, you know, the different cannabinoids, it'd just be amazing to be able to team them all up together in a product. It would just, without having to, you know, like be demonized or be told no and hit a brick wall.
Yeah. It's again, it's a speaker. We know this with herbal tea blends and stuff like this. You know, you have night tea and whatever else. I mean, people that have taken even things like like valerian root or whatever. There are some powerful sedatory herbs that work through aromatherapy, and see, you're activating these smell compounds. That's a terrible sentence. Thank you, Bryn. These molecules that, you know,
I like it. So I'd come out with.
Yeah, some smell compounds. There we go. You know what I mean, guys. You can obviously tell I'm not a chemist. I can hear my good friend, my chemist friend, Callie Seaman, somewhere cringing at this, but you know what we mean, Callie. You know what we mean.
She'll forgive us.
Yeah, of course she will. Of course she will. But yeah, my point is that, so we know those, and that is like some of the oldest medicine. We've known that and had this intrinsic relationship with it for forever. So when you walk into the woods, you know, people say, go for a walk in nature. What are you getting there? You're getting, like you said, pinene, you're getting lemonine, you're getting different compounds from the flowers, from the plants, even from the dirt. Do you know what I mean? There's from everything. All of these things interacting. Yeah, and it's the synergy of your microbiome interacting with this larger sort of reality, and constantly in communication of different sort of signals that allow you to kind of step out of the trap of yourself. Do you know what I mean? We've been weaponized into believing that our thoughts are who we are, when it's really not. It's another sense. And actually, if we get back to the idea of tactile things, of touch, of temperature, of sensation, and I think this is one of the things that aromatherapy and cosmetics are really, you know, cosmetics, it's difficult with the branding of it, because then there's a lot of traditionally masculine men will like, oh, I'm good, well, and fight against this, yet at the same time will then smell cedar wood or vanilla or something, and that they would find quite pleasant and still get a benefit from.
Yeah, you've got your citrus, you know, it doesn't have to always be floral. It's all right. You can accommodate for all. But yeah, I do feel like as well that, you know, with CBD being so spoken about and being made mainstream over the last couple of years, I do feel like that's kind of sparked something in a lot of people to, like you say, to get back to grounding yourself and realizing that, you know, pharmaceuticals, okay, yeah, they have a place for certain things and people, but that isn't just the option. That you don't have to run straight for that. There's so many things. Like this past couple of years, I feel like, you know, I was getting into a place of my anxiety that most days I started my day by being sick and like I would just get myself so worked up about everything. And like you say, you're not your thoughts, and you really don't have to let that control you. So, you know, just using things like meditation and herbal remedies, and I know when you start talking like that and people sort of roll their eyes, but it really does make a difference. And just affirmations, there's so many different things that you can do before, you know, you feel like you get to that point that, okay, this isn't working. But if you don't try things, then you don't know, do you? But I do feel like it has sparked something in people that they're really getting back to their roots and really want to care for their well-being and their health.
Yeah, this real renaissance of I guess self-interest, and I don't mean that in the same sense as selfishness. I mean in that people are curious of, well, actually, input stimuli. I do something, it results in something, and if I change the something, the result changes. And once you start to understand that mechanism, and people then will typically approach something like CBD as a way to it's got a gateway towards wellness. And so they'll kind of go, well, all right, this is available on the high street. I can get this little bottle, and gee, I've got a bit of an ailment in my knee and maybe my sleep or whatever in it, because it's then helping supplement and regulate the endocannabinoid system for somebody that's then deficient. You're then going to see, that benefit and that improvement. But then it's the real exciting thing for me is when you start to move into the point of prophylactic consumption. Once you start to have that relationship of going, well, actually, if I do this, I can offset this. And then you start to then gain a footing again of going, wait a minute, my action is bettering my health. It's not my reaction, my action. So then I think that's what's happening is people are then suddenly going, well, take this dropper every week and I just feel better and I regulate better. And actually, because I'm feeling better, I'm going to go out for a walk in the woods. And then because I'm exposed to nature and whatever else, I'm going to plan to go for a hike, and I'm going to take the dog out more. And then you've got more oxygen in your blood. You've got more blood flow. You've got a better fucking metabolism because you're speeding up the way that everything works. You're training and strengthening your muscles again. You're engaging. And it's just these dominoes that just keep the opposite of dominoes falling, I guess. It's the building of this sense of self. And I think that cannabis is quite intrinsic to it, because the consumption of especially THC, we know, causes introspection. It causes people to go into a metacognitive state. So they start to think about how they think, and they start to think about how they live and what they want to do, sometimes to their detriment. We've all been couch locked, really wanting to get up and do something, go eat, or to get out of the mindset. But all we're doing is stuck thinking about that conversation we had 5 years ago where we mispronounced a word. And ever since, it's haunting us, you know what I mean? It's just so much.
Waking up in the middle of the night, sweats. Oh my God, no.
Yeah, but that's you evolving and sort of growing. So I think I would say there's prophylactic use of compounds like THC and CBN for sort of spiritual development and things like that. Whereas then, we're looking at CBG, CBD, the low or no psychoactive, not non-psychoactive, depending on how you want to term it, sort of cannabinoids. I think they're massively beneficial prophylactically to the body to help prevent wasting, to help prevent dysregulation, to help prevent muscle atrophy, or things like cancer.
It's amazing. It really is. The plant is just, like I say, all plants, there's so many in that as well. I feel like that, because you think, oh, okay, cannabis, it can offer us this, or like you say, somebody's been using their CBD oil and they feel so much better, and then they're telling a friend about it. And I think it sort of sends you down this rabbit hole of, okay, if this plant that, that's been kept away from us and we're told that's the big bad boogeyman, what other plants can we get? I think people always know about lavender and things like that, but if you really start researching, things like black pepper and stuff, they contain like cannabinoids, and it's just amazing. Like, there's just so many. Turmeric, that can help with inflammation, and like, I think, like, then when you start combining all these different plants, you creating medicine and things for like spiritual activation, and however you want to perceive it, or what you're into, your interest.
Was oh God, I am terrible with my ancient Greek teachers. Hippocrates said, "Let food be thy medicine."
Yeah.
I think it was Hippocrates. I think I got that right. Get me for my ancient Greek knowledge. But yes, and then exactly what you've just stated there, those are the ones even that we know of. So we know of even the strategic use of certain different salts. Do you know what I mean? You were saying before, like the strategic use of black pepper with it containing, is it alpha or beta? Beta caryophyllene, I think it is the terpene within black pepper. And you can use that to basically reduce too much THC high. Do you know what I mean? There's different things that we're starting to understand that meant that, all right, if you're going to make edibles and you need to get THC into the system and for it to then convert into 11-hydroxy in the body for certain illnesses and ailments, but you don't want that to convert and then make a high psychoactive impact. Instead of making it sweet, you could make it savory and add these different spices and herbs and everything into it as a way to offset those compounds. The merriment of these traditional knowledges of plants and herbs, I think, next level. I mean, I truly believe that, again, the same thing of cannabis is a weed. It's intrinsic intelligence. Come at me for whatever you want to believe of that, for however I've termed that. But I mean, the cannabis wants to be here. We have fought a war of eradication globally. We have used helicopters, flamethrowers, chainsaws. We've burnt fields to the ground.
It's crazy,
thousands of men have tried to destroy it. It's everywhere. It's never
she
been
ain't
more
going
available.
nowhere.
Exactly. So I think that even that, how many other cannabises have we not found? How many of the weeds every day, every spring that they come around and they spray with the Roundup and all that other shit with the councils, and they
Dandelions.
destroy. Yeah.
You're taught to think that they're terrible. Pull them out. Spray them with all these chemicals that you're then inhaling and not probably doing you the world of good. But yeah, that you can take that. You can go and make dandelion coffee, and teas, or you can infuse it into ointments and things like that. It's just mad, like you say, just everything that grows around us that kind of from a young age that you taught that it's just no use. Like, it's no use. Cut it up, pull it out, kill it. Like
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's the teachers to be fearful of nature, yet, or rather, it stalls this idea that we are not nature, that we're somehow not natural. Yeah, so it's again, mushrooms are another one that really bothers me. We're really moving forward into understanding the benefits of medicinal mushrooms. So again, I worry about the language I use here, so I'm going to be trying mindful, because obviously I don't like to use the term medical cannabis because I don't think it exists. Prescription cannabis, I think, is a much more accurate way of describing it. So I wouldn't want to then set poor precedent with the way I'm going to speak of mushrooms, because I'm not a mycologist or too into that field as it currently stands. But from my understanding, there are quite a vast amount of currently categorized mushrooms that have known benefits. As to whether we want to call them medicinal or not at this point, I guess we'll leave that on the fence. But my point stands that we're starting to really understand that something that we would look at and go, is dangerous and minging and it's going to kill you.
It's poisonous.
It's actually, no, yes, there are many mushrooms that are poisonous and toxic, but actually through education, you'll be able to avoid them. You know what I mean? It's not a case of that just because 10 mushrooms in a bag of 100 could kill you, you shouldn't eat the mushrooms. If we teach you how to identify the 10, the other 90 mushrooms could have the cure for cancer. It could have, the
mental
cure for
health.
Parkinson's. And exactly, we're really starting to understand that, especially psilocybin, about being able to, again, regulate yourself. So when you're a bit run down, grab a bath bomb, roll an ice joint, grab an infused bath bomb. Boom, you relax your skin you relax yourself inside and out. You've got
listen to a bit of love frequency, yeah.
Yeah, and it's the same then is with psilocybin. Is I don't want to see the same with cannabis as almost being told, here, go take this 3 times a day. You need that intrinsic relationship of instinct where you then go, I just fancy it. You shouldn't have to then justify it. As long as you're being conscious of your interaction with it, then it's an instinctual need or want.
I was going to say, your body knows, doesn't it? Your body will crave things if you're lacking or, you have a deficiency and things like that. So like you said, I think your brain's the same. If you need to take something and you say if you to have a trip then, or you microdose and things like that, then you see the improvement within yourself and you kind of like, oh, okay, my body was right. And I think the more we in tune and the more we listen, the lot happier, no one's going to be 100% happy every day. That's just unrealistic. But, a lot more happier and healthier and a lot more understanding of this world and the amazingness of Mother Nature and what she offers.
I think it's kind of evident in pregnant women. I think that something in them kind of goes with the hormones and everything else. And there are certain neurological structural changes that occur. But ultimately, it is this thing of, well, I've got to take care of this. And something switches up, and you hear it all the time of pregnant women craving the weirdest of shit. And then when you look into it, you're actually like, oh, that's high in potassium. That's really high in iron. That's really high in this. And there is an intrinsic, there's a bodybuilder. I can't think of the name off the top of my head. I think I referenced this in a podcast recently, actually. And basically he says that about like needing salt on him, whatever. I don't maintain a diet anymore. I eat. Body goes, I want this. I go have that. If I fancy a bit of extra salt in that, I need that. If I need to up my weight routine, I'll up that. It's just he's arrived at a point where he's so comfortable and so in tune with himself that the idea of then trying to regiment that is, and if I wake up and I've slept in for an hour, that's going to change how much I'm going to want to eat. If I then try and force myself to eat, you've got to be able to be responsive and reactive. Whereas I think that life has kind of taught us to go, here, build your template, build your 24 hours, and then repeat that till you die.
And put so much pressure on yourself, that you're probably going to break down at some point and find it hard to climb back up. So
yeah, and then don't you dare make yourself feel better with plants.
Yeah, no.
Dead plants, poisonous. What that we've done, if we ferment it and create this lovely swig, you can go home and get yourself screwed up on that. Yeah, You can smoke this other plant that we stole from a culture half a world away, and then is now sprayed with 200 carcinogens, and we sell to you at an inflated price. But yeah, don't you grow one at home and consume?
Yeah, don't you heal yourself? We'll know about it, and don't you dare share your experience online either, because we'll ban you.
It's the hypocrisy of this. It's one of the things that when I came to think of I wanted a cosmetic guest, I wanted somebody to talk about the beauty industry, is that even how it's described?
You can.
Health and beauty. I don't know, maybe we feel a bit weird there, because then the other side of that is it's not an ugly industry. And then we say there's an arbitrary line where you're like, you're not attractive enough to be in the beauty industry.
No, I think it's either because it's used for your beauty. I always say the cosmetic industry, because, it's made up of lots. You've got makeup, you've got, like you say, there's products that you could use for sports and like that, but then you've got stuff that you probably you just want to be nice and moisturized up, or like you want to go and relax in the bath. So yeah, I always call it cosmetic industry, but I think it is classed as the beauty industry.
I've never realized how kind of a loaded term that really is before until I said it out loud. But you then obviously pop straight away as the guest that I'd want to sort of discuss this with. And as I think we alluded to, maybe, I don't know if we had the camera rolling at Product Earth, and we were saying about the hypocrisy of huge corporations like Boots and others that can then, who's the other one that really pissed me off? Body Shop, put huge cannabis leaves all over their windows, using the words cannabis and being really in your face about it. And then when you look at it, a lot of the products were things like hemp seed oil.
I did look into that. Yeah, just a little bit. Your old cannabis sativa seed oil, yeah, which again is hemp oil. I use that just on my face a lot of the time. It's a great adds a lot of moisture and things like that. But yeah, I know what you're saying. It's it's hard. I really struggle at the moment. That's probably like my biggest thing that I find hard to get motivated with now, is creating content and being online. And I think that's just because it just doesn't get seen, or you're told, oh, you can't post that. You're going against guidelines. And I just think like, but I'm not, essentially, like, I'm, like you say, I'm not using anything different or wording things any different to these big corporations and brands that have been around for many years. And I don't like to be negative about it, because I think, okay, they do reach a lot more people and they open a lot more people up to what it is and what benefits. But at the same time, I don't know, it's a hard one. But yeah, it's definitely not fair. Yeah, but it's the way the world seems to work, isn't it, at the moment?
Yeah, under its current incarnation, yeah. And I mean, I think it is structurally unfair in that I feel it's people like yourself that have then kind of taken that first initiative and got in ahead of the game and have gone, all right, I'm going to establish this, I'm going to work at this. Done it from a point of passion and a point of experience. You're not just cashing in on the next big trend. You're not just jumping on and moving through this. You're invested in this. And I think it's the ethos, it's the brand identity, it's the narrative and the story behind it that is what will, in my opinion, should give you legs, should help you grandfather into this industry. Because the Boots, the other large sort of producers, I'm sorry, I'm not meaning to pick on you here, Boots, but you're just the easiest one I can think of straight off the top of my head. But any of these sort of mainstream retailers, and these online retailers, they're just selling shit. If you look at the products that they're actually producing for the majority, they are the CBD companies and the brands that got through the door because they played the game. They marketed themselves solely as hemp, or they chucked a couple of million in investment. They made sure to say that, oh, well, all the buzzwords, we're non-psychoactive, we're THC free, we're not from that demon marijuana stuff. And they present themselves as this, above reproach kind of holier than thou, fucking gentrified, whitewashed hemp brand. Do you know what I mean? Whereas then the cannabis industry and community that have then kind of gone, all right, we'll play that, and we have to then have bullied into it, and then still ostracized and censored for it, and then go, well, you used the C word, and you're like, yeah, well, they've got it in giant letters on the front of their high street. Who are you gonna have a deal with here? You can walk down the street and smell weed. I'm gonna stop this guy and search his pockets. They've got a giant sign and arrow saying they've got cannabis. Go deal with them. It creates this multi-tiered, structurally unsound and unfair system that, well, but if it's all cannabis and cannabis is cannabis, why is it what I do with cannabis is bad and what they do is good? So is what you're saying that the cannabis isn't bad, I'm bad?
It is, especially when essentially you have jumped through all the same hoops. You know, you've gone and got your cosmetic assessment. You make sure that everything's labeled as it should be, and you're including all the information. And then, yeah, as soon as you come to somewhere, you know, online or your website and things where you're trying to sell, is when you really see it. Like you say, is then certain big brands are running huge like, you know, things about like the cannabis products that they're making and using all these words that you'd soon be ostracized for online. So for instance, my peace and cannabis bath bomb, I couldn't add it to my shop on Facebook. Like, they kept saying that basically I was trying to sell drugs, and it was just, and that they wouldn't approve it. And yeah, it was like, I think I did shed a few tears. I thought, I've created this beautiful bath bomb. It has a cannabis leaf on it, a peace symbol. I've named it Peace and Cannabis, and I can't put it anywhere. I can't share it with anyone because I'm being told that I'm selling drugs. Whereas, you know, like I say, and then you'll see on a sponsored post on Instagram, and it's like, oh, cannabis-infused shampoo or something like that. And yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, and it's again, the frustration is something. I'm trying to think how much of this I can put on public record. I have previously kind of maybe motivated a few individuals to speak to people within certain sectors about the legality of the wording of certain products. So one thing that it's basically shampoo bottles. It really pissed me off not that long ago around seeing a lot of the mainstream shampoo manufacturers suddenly being like, oh, cannabis. And so there's a couple of them went in with hemp wording, and I was like, well, hemp doesn't really exist. So okay, let's have a look at this. But all of them on the back, ingredients, seed oil from cannabis sativa L. So it was named with the botanical name. And so that then got me in a thought process of, well, actually, wait a minute. Yeah, when you put a product out there that is a botanical extract, you have to use its Latin name. It's
the
universally
name,
recognized, internationally standardized terms. Then I was looking around at all these different products that call themselves hemp, and we're hemp seed oil. And I'm like, well, hemp seed oil doesn't exist because hemp doesn't exist. So you only have low THC cannabis oil. And so look at the semantics of it, and there's some real big flaws and holes in some major, I'm not going to name them for legal reasons, but major manufacturers in this country are currently mislabeling themselves. They're in violation of a lot of branding and packaging laws. And when the system finally catches up to that, and it's not because of me mentioning it on a podcast, it's going to be because I can't think of any other bloody players in this industry, but yeah, so with Boots or Body Shop then come along and suddenly go, well, we want to clear that space for ourselves because they've already done it right. They started wrong. I mean, there's still a massive argument to be had here about the taxonomy of leaf. So your indica leaf, broader, closer together. Your sativa leaf is thinner, more open in your roots, ruderalis, all kinds of combinations. I've seen leaves come out of that look like broccoli. But the point is that an indica and a sativa leaf are very different. So actually, if you wanted to argue the semantics of the old world interpretation, that indica or of India cannabis was traditionally then seen without the interference of man to be a much higher THC product, therefore would be more likely to be consumed as a narcotic or intoxicant. Whereas then the sativa lineage, because of the length of time that it would take to grow and the style in which it was cultivated, would produce longer skinny leaves because it was competing with a much denser area, whereas the indica plants would have the space to really open up and create these sails to generate the solar conversions into sugars and complex carbohydrates plants bring them into. I'm really showing my weakness here in plant biology. But you know what I mean, into the process of building and structuring the plants, So there's a lot of these companies went out and put indica leaves on and then went and market themselves as hemp. So it just showed that there is, again, real misunderstandings because it's gimmicks to them. They're not interested in representing
they're a big business, aren't they? It's this the next thing that's bringing this in, isn't it? The money. And so I don't think, like you say, if you haven't got the passion or a connection and the real want to change the stigma around it, you know, not just to create your products and make the money, but to really help the plant, you know, help cannabis be seen for who she really is and what she can do. Yeah, it's this I just think that's why it's, you know, the research isn't there necessarily. It's just kind of like, you know, find a picture of a cannabis leaf and stick it on there, and we'll stick that seed oil in there, and that's it. We'll sell hundreds of, if not thousands, and of this product, because it's they see it as they're riding the new thing. But I just, it's here to stay, and she needs to be understood. And
it's interesting. I was just thinking there in my head that they basically all show a depiction of a 5 or a 7 leaf as well. Whereas, good growers will tell you can pop out some like 13s, I'm not going to incriminate myself sort of too much, but in previous productions in grow spaces, quite a lot of as I would highly rate them, some of the BSB genetics, always chucking out 11s and 13s, just really huge, monstrous leaves that are just drawing in that energy. And it's I would say that's a marker of health. So actually, maybe if we then knew more about the plant, people would actually be going, oh, well, here's a 17, here's a whatever. Yeah. And people,
she's a healthy leaf.
Just showing this for just more and more open until eventually it just becomes a 360 of points off. We're going, there's 27 in there, we win. Do you know?
I love that competition of like that when who can grow the biggest watermelon or something like that.
Yeah, I want to see the broadest leaf.
Yeah, I like that. We should do it.
Yeah. It's interesting. So cosmetics, so this is one of the things I want to speak about as well, that I feel that the economics of your industry are massively hampered by the restrictions. So if there was a truly legal, ubiquitous, regulated, descheduled cannabis industry for people to consume in this country, we would have thousands of tons of byproduct, which would then give us all of the other products that I think that yourselves as an industry would need. Do you know what I mean? You could have cannabis terpenes. You could have the basically, if it was going to be for isolate products to be built back in, you can use CBD biomass and biosyntheses to alter and convert any cannabinoid into basically any other cannabinoid.
I had somebody, he sent me some CBD and CBG biomass sort of have a play around with, and it was just so much fun to sort of come away. Obviously it's not to sell. I know I just wouldn't be able to get it assessed as it currently stands, but it was just really nice to play with it. And that kind of, to me, that was what I was thinking to myself as I was creating with it. I thought it would just be so good, because a lot of this probably just gets wasted, and it's such a shame because nobody can legally use it. So obviously I've made up some packs, and I'll be sure to hand them out and put them in as little freebies and for people to use. But there's so many different things that we'd be able to use and incorporate.
I mean, this is going back a few years. I'm trying to pull this out of an iSmoke article. I think there was an American study, don't quote me on the year, I'm going to reckon around 2017, something like that, or at least 2017, I think was when I wrote about it. They found from metadata analysis that a good grower can get in the region, I think it was 8 to 9% cannabinoids on waste stock. 8 to 9% of the mass of those stalks that are going into bins, council estate bins that are being littered across the countryside, they're going into waste. Yeah, it can be 8 to 9% cannabinoids. So it's
a lot of cannabinoids. Yeah.
Even the legal regions where I've traveled, America, Canada, wherever, the licenses restrict that. Are you a flower producer? Yeah, then you produce flowers. Leave the biomass. Like they have to mulch it, or some places are trying to looking at creating reclaim. So basically, they would go around the farms and reclaim it, and then be able to do whatever. But then obviously the industry are like, well, why can't we do that on site? Why would you have to then create another peripheral? I want to see vertical integrated industry. I think I spoke of this in a Vice article recently with Nana Barr, and was just basically stating that you could take a brown belt site, grow cannabis on it, clean up the soil, clean up the air, sequester the carbon, build a building. Inside that building, grow cannabis.
I know.
You know what I mean? And then use cannabis to power it. And you know what I mean? It's the staff uniforms could be made of cannabis. The meals on a lunchtime, they could be eating cannabis. It's mental but they're never going to, I don't think, allow all of that they want it all to be separate, because they can't allow the common man, the layman to understand what the people of passion and knowledge in our community know. And that's that this thing could give us everything. Well, effectively everything.
Yeah, but then it takes away again. It's this going back to that, isn't it? Big corporations, elites, and things like that. You're then taking from them, and obviously we know they don't like that. So, but I do feel like, and I like to try and stay positive and think that way, is that we're heading somewhere that is positive, and that we are reclaiming back. And people are like, this is how it needs to be done. This is how we sort of should be living. And look out for yourself. Don't sort of look and have somebody who really doesn't care about your health and well-being tell you what you need for your health and well-being, or like that, or for infrastructure. And just, yeah, we like to waste it, like not us particularly, but it seems to be that with anything. I used to work in like the food industry for like a factory many years ago, and I remember like how sad it would make me feel, like just seeing these bins full of like food and things that there was nothing wrong with it, and yet people are hungry, and it'd be wasted. Bye, see you later. There's no room for this sort of thing. And I just think we can do better.
We know we can do better because we do things to prevent people accessing that food. So for legal reasons, I'm not going to name which supermarket chain I used to work for as a teenager, but I worked as a team leader on produce, the fresh produce department. And one of my responsibilities at the end of most days was a job that I loathed, was stocking the waste. And we had a group of individuals known colloquially by the staff as the Clampets, is what they used to call them. And they were a socioeconomically disadvantaged family that were all mishoused in really substandard housing. They weren't getting the mental health assessment they needed. They weren't given interventions that they were entitled to as citizens of this country, that small interventions that would have made their lives drastically more improved. And ultimately they would go through the bins as a way to find food. So then we were like, all right, we're going to start locking the bins and start to lock the bins, start breaking the locks. So then they went, all right, what we want the staff to do now is, when you're doing the waste, is damage those products. If you've got a yogurt, you smash that yogurt in that bag, get it all over the other product. You've got more milk, let the milk will pour over it. If you've got a moldy pumpkin, smash that pumpkin in it. You want it to be as unappealing as possible. And so they were paying me to destroy waste food that to them was going to cost them nothing, so that somebody couldn't harm the economics of the situation. They couldn't gain a small hand up for a moment for an evening's meal for free. And it was such that was one of the things that burnt me out. Was I had a meltdown after leaving that role, because I saw the economics of the system. I saw it from the inside out, and I hated it. I loathed and despised that mechanism. And I was getting pushed towards, we're going to store manager, and I was like seeing this trajectory for 50 years of my life, just denying people food whilst putting food on shelves. And the paradox of it was so palpable and painful. Yeah, it just burnt me out,
and that's essentially the world we live in, isn't it? So yeah, things do, and it seems to be coming from the smaller businesses and corporations, or whatever you want to call it, and these people that are passionate about what they're doing. Is you think of every step of the way, all the way to your waste. People don't want to just chuck things away and add to the landfills, or take away from somebody that you can give back to for nothing. And it doesn't cost you anything. It doesn't make you lose out. But at the same time, I don't know, I just see it as like it's like a cycle. And we could be living in such a better cycle that could benefit everybody, and it doesn't take away anything either.
Yeah, entirely.
But unfortunately, the world isn't run by those sorts of people. So,
but I think the passionate, caring, the weird and the wonderful, as I described them, and I count myself happily and proudly amongst them.
We're all a collective.
Are going to inherit the world, because greed can only go so far, self-interest can only go so far, narcissism, hedonism, egoism, it can only go so far before it becomes cantankerous, it becomes self-destructive, and it then starts to feed on itself. And I think that's what we're seeing with this kind of late stage capitalism, is that the corporations are having to greenwash us now. They're having to pretend that, oh no, we're saving the planet, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah,
desperately, so that we don't stop and go, do we need fabric softener though? Fuck them changing the packaging and whatever else. If we just stop it, we save trillions in energy and carbon and whatever. Yeah. If we then go toilet paper, if we suddenly then went, all right, all this cannabis would go, and if we mulched it or whatever, if we could, you'd end the dioxin industry, which is worth billions and is the second largest polluting substance on the planet. It's in the breast milk of 99% of all mammals. And it comes from white paper. It comes from we want paper to look white and clean. And again, why, rather than going, we're going to recycle that paper, can we just pause a second and go, why the fuck does it need to be white?
Yeah, we're not born that way, are we? I always think that you're not born to have these ideologies and to think that way. Like I don't know, you go by sort of instincts in your early days, and I don't know, yeah, like you say,
it's indoctrination, isn't it? Really, it's you're given your stuff, and you're not taught to question things. You're taught the opposite, to just go, that's how it is. Go
accept it.
And you leave school at 16 going, well, I know everything about the world and I don't ever need to ask another question again. And a lot of people, unfortunately, live that way. And until a death, a tragedy, a major shake-up in their life, they're never going to go, up. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe what I learned 40 years ago, it's changed. Maybe I should update my, and unfortunately, that's a lot of people. They get entrenched and they get very laser focused into a smaller and smaller worldview. That 24 hours I was speaking of before, they build it and go, this is what I want. I want this for me dinner. I want to get up at this time. I want to do this job. I want to do that. And they just repeat that 24 hours until they die. Every year, couple of years, they'll go, we'll take a week off. And they sit on a beach and they get bored. So sad. And they can't sit with themselves and enjoy the presence. They can't understand that smell. You talk about aromatherapy. I'm not, and I mean that of both genders. I'm not, obviously, I'm a man. That's why it came across quite basic.
No, I know what you mean. Yeah,
but
you
the dismissiveness of people that are going, I'm not interested in the experience of life. And you're like, then why the hell are you alive? Do you know what I mean? And I think unfortunately, those people are traditionally prohibitionists. They're traditionally quite conservative. They're traditionally quite, usually more towards radical Judeo-Christian beliefs, whether they even recognize them as such. Do you know what I mean? Heteronormativity, capitalist structures, the nuclear family, the career ladder, those kind of things. That's what they've taught. That's what they'll do. And so every few years they might check in with themselves, with a few drinks too many, and go like, well, I've got the kids. I've ticked that off. I mean, I don't like them, but they don't like me. I'm on my second marriage. Like that's two. That's
don't
twice,
like him.
Twice
he don't like me.
Yeah, twice as good. I've worked for 30 years for the same guy. He's a billionaire now. I can't pay off my mortgage, but I'm still a good guy. Keep necking the pints, and you know what I mean. And that's not to say anything against people that consume alcohol. I'm not.
No, because it's easily done, though, isn't it? It's easily done to live your life like that, because you're programmed from the minute you take that first breath into this world. And you brought up. I have family members that I don't speak to now, and it's simply because I found them, and the way that they thought and how they thought I should live my life was toxic. And it is sad in the hindsight of it. You think, oh, okay, that's my family and things. But at the same time, I think, well, no, like we're not. I also, we're not on the same plane. That's how I see it. We're just not, I'm not here to do those things. I really want to make a difference, especially now that I have my little girl. And it's things like that she's so like in tune. And I think a lot of kids are. That's why I think like you're not born to obviously be the way that we are or what we drill into everybody's heads. It's just, she's so in tune with herself and things around her. And I don't know, I'm always like, I want to encourage that. And I don't want anyone to take that away or try to take that away. So
I think you're representative of a generation of women that have gone, it's not about indoctrinating the previous worldview. It's about a true creation of a new one. You don't know the world your daughter's going to grow up in, and you're humble enough to prepare her for that. Instead of going, here's what it's going to be, here's what you have to be, you're going, I don't fucking know what the world's going to be. Let's make you the best human possible. And I think that's a difference. And you're breaking those generational stigmas by being brave enough and bold enough to, I wouldn't say turn your back on your family at all, but in a sense of understanding that you are not obligated to your kin. This is something that a lot of people really need to get your head around, is that, yeah, your parents may have birthed you into this world, but as soon as you are over 18, legally, mentally, socially, physically, you are autonomous. You are an individual. You may piss them off and do something they disagree with, but you are responsible entirely for your action. You are capable of creating the reality in which you find yourself within. I mean, it feels a lot to me that, and I say this obviously, I suppose, growing up without a father and quite a destructive family unit myself, which I'll say to kind of preface this, is that not being obligated to tradition, peer pressure from dead people, from your own family, going, well, your great uncle used to do, well, all power to him and good for him for doing that, but that doesn't inform what I'm doing now, unless I'm still in the same industry or we're all in the same business, or there's some direct connection through that. It's just another piece of information. Do you know what I mean? And I feel that we end up damaging and limiting and handicapping our children and our friends and our family and our communities through tradition, through this idea of that you have to continue what has been done. We should incentivize curiosity and novelty and,
an instinct. Yeah, your natural instinct. Yeah. But I do feel like you're saying, I feel like that is going to change, and especially because of how we feel and what we believe in. And then, like, if you do go on to have children and things, I think, yeah, the whole parenting style and it's just changing. We're allowing people to grow into who they are and who they want to be and see the world how they want to see it. So
it's interesting, actually. So I learned something the other day. This year is the first year since 1920 in the UK that 50% of women who are 30 have not had a child.
I know. I love that as well. I just love it that you've not, again, that's just something, isn't it? When you, as a woman, especially, that when you're growing up, you're told that, that you'll marry and you'll have kids and, you might have a career, you might not, but, you'll look after everybody else and that's the way it goes. Whereas like people, women or whatever you want to, as what you identify as is like, no, I'm doing this for me. I want to live my life. If you don't want to have kids, you don't have to have kids. Like, I think that's what the problem is a lot of the time. A lot of people have kids and they don't particularly want them. And it's not an easy job either. It is hard and it's draining and all the other things, but at the same time rewarding. But yeah, no, I do love that. That's, yeah.
Yeah, it's something I was just sort of thinking of as we were chatting there, is the difference. Because when I mentioned that in front of somebody's mother, obviously of an older generation, and they instinctively went, yet. So yeah. I said starting the answer went, yet, and it kind of went, well, no, and kind of explored this thing, and it led me to a whole series of thoughts that the children raised by women in their 30s, I'm sorry, are going to be far better off than the children raised by women in their 20s, in my opinion. I
completely agree. And I've heard that
the opportunity to gain more finance, they've had the opportunity to gain more experience, to be more mature.
Patience.
Me at 21 and 22, my worldview versus me at 31, 32. You give me another human to look after, Jesus Christ. I mean, my cat, God bless him, wherever he is, he's 15. He made it through my 20s, but only just, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Let alone, Christ, another human. It's, yeah, so I mean, obviously, and I don't mean that negatively towards anyone that has had children young, so I don't take it personally, frankly, and if you have that, unfortunately, I think says more about you than what my statement actually implies. But yeah, hit me in the comments if you want to continue that conversation. But yeah, you get sort of my point. So what's your feeling on that?
No, I completely agree. I've got friends and the people, like, on the school run and stuff. And there's a lady, she didn't have her little girl, who's the same age as my child, until she was about 35. And I even noticed the difference to how I parent, and I can sometimes get myself, I'll worry about things and a little, probably a bit too much than you should, or I think like, oh, and put pressure on myself, whereas they don't. It's just kind of like, why, and they just, I don't know, there is a difference. I've noticed that myself, and I didn't know that was the statistics. So I think that's just amazing. And I think as well, it comes from women having more and being able to be more career driven and driven within their life and their wants. It's not just all about that. Yes, you can grow this child, or possibly grow this child inside you, but it's your choice if you want to or not. So yeah, and like you say, I definitely do think people that wait to go a little bit later and have their children tend to parent a lot. I don't want to say a lot better, because I feel like I think I'm a good mum.
I think maybe this statement saying they're a bit more, than potentially more well equipped for the role.
Yes, yeah, like I say, with the patience and the understanding, and probably not putting as much pressure on yourself. And
I suppose it's the thing of humans in our 20s. We're coming out of puberty. We're not. We've built ourselves for the school experience. We're told this is what life's going to be. Then we're kicked out in the real world, and all of a sudden go, well,
on your own.
That was a lie. What the hell? And you've got to try and figure everything out, and you're building all of this stuff together. We're so full of self-doubt, of self-loathing, of a lack of confidence and worth and identity, that it seems unfair to then go, well, now raise this one and not expect us to put our trauma and our damage into it. Like, how can we not? We're supposed to have an opportunity to mature, to evolve. You know, the joke of it, of saying there's a time and a place for everything, and it's called college. Well, it's like, yeah, we need the time to explore those things, and then to get beyond that educational institution and then into the real world. And
life experience.
At the minute, it's not where it is. You can't be this traditional conservative value man going, well, I just want to find a woman that's going to settle down and birth my children. And from like, it's not the same way. The only reason you're going to find that, or where you're going to find that, is in higher class, is in a woman that is born into a position where she doesn't immediately have to work to survive. More people are immediately pushed into poverty from as soon as you're an adult. You're just like, well, you're broke now. You always rent, you always bills, energy's going up. You got to eat, you got to pay for your car, you know?
Yeah, debt. Yeah. And then, yeah, again, it's just another added pressure and stress, isn't it, into your life? So yeah, I do agree with you completely. Yeah, definitely. I'm happy with the one, and I always said, I think if I was to ever have another one with my partner, it would be, you know, into my 30s. I'm 29 now, just turned 29. But yeah, I've sort of grown a lot, you know, since. I think for me, having my child was a thing of like, right, okay, I've got to get my act together. Like, my mum had me when she was 15, 16, and it wasn't very fun growing up, you know, and it was a different time then. She had mental health problems and things that just wasn't helped and wasn't identified. So it was a bit of a struggle. However, and then I think then I was sort of just in this chaos and going through life and not really knowing. And then, yeah, sort of into my mid-20s, I had my little girl, and it was just like a switch for me of like, okay, like I really do have to put the work in now and be a better person and have more of an understanding and things like that, so that, like you say, that you don't then pass it down, because it isn't fair. Like, so yeah, but I know not everybody does that, and it's not easy.
Yeah, it's difficult, and a lot of that it's all unintentional, I would say. No one intends to ever traumatize or harm a child. I mean, I made a very hyperbole statement that Maka very vehemently disagreed with on one of the very early episodes, and I said that any action of raising a child is a form of child abuse, because the world is so fucked that you can't. You can give them all the tools in the world, but you kind of still made them happen. And again, that's not a judgment on anybody that's chose to have kids, and I've probably maybe slightly evolved my position on that, or at least softened the corners of it. And I believe that people like yourselves that then can consciously rear children, so you see about like farm animals. Is that the
I was going to say, yeah, she's.
But you know what I mean? Raise. There we go, raise. I'm sorry. You can see my intentions to not have children in that sentence. But yeah, to raise then a child consciously, to then make a world that they could then live in. Do you know what I mean? Whereas before I was very sort of almost apocalyptic and quite doomsday of like, well, yeah, we're fucked and we've probably got 40 years and we'll see how good we can get it. But actually, if we created a generation of conscious individuals, and I don't mean that in the cliched kind of woke, yo man.
No,
I mean in the sense of people that can read reality, that can discern fact, that can communicate, that can discuss, debate, strategize, and formulate and create new models and new modalities and ways of being, that they could in a generation create a world for countless generations to come. That I truly believe there is no tipping point. There is no mass extinction event other than obviously the sky literally falling and a mass meteorite or asteroid strike, something like that. That I think that we have this opportunity, and that those that choose to, and bless it won't be me and my missus, then do that, can raise those conscious minds. And I think that then the collectivism of all of these people together, not growing in isolation, but growing organically, not in the monoculture, not in the status quo that is developed by the ruling elite, that they will be able to then challenge and question it and create industries within nascent movements like cannabis to be able to make real money, make real progress, and make real impact into the direct lives and experience of the people around them.
No, definitely. Yeah, that's kind of like my parenting goal, really, is just sort of like, you know, let her be who she is, but at the same time it's just the real importances of life, you know, not what they tell you should be important. And like I say, I do believe that you're just sort of naturally born with that, like the way that she looks at plants or nature, or even when she's outside, it's just kids just seem to have so much more love and respect for the world around them.
I
Not all, I don't know, but yeah, it's so I think it's just a case of nurturing that and keeping that at the forefront.
I think Aldous Huxley, when he was talking about the English literary sort of master, was when he was talking mescaline, he spoke of sort of psychedelics opening this valve of consciousness, of like awareness. And I think as a child, you're born with it open.
Yeah.
And you are accepting and aware. And it's almost, I think it's overstimulating for the first few months. All of that, because you've got the full spectrum of light, the full spectrum of sound. And I feel that you then focus into it over that. You've got to adjust to the world you're in the same way as you trip. When you first come up, you can be disorientating. You've got to get used to
feel a bit sick,
the light levels that you're working on, the audio levels that you're working on, and then you focus into it and you're like, okay, I'm here. And then you don't notice that you were on that limited or thing until you're not on that presence. And I think kids are born with that, and then they are so hyper aware of their caregiver, they're the person that they look up to before they even have language and linguistics. They then see, oh, my mom touched that. That's obviously a good thing. She didn't touch that. That's obviously a bad thing. Even before good and bad are concepts. And so that, I think your attitude and your nature and your curiosity installs into your child quite young. So if you're then anxious, if you're frightened, if you're in a state of constant struggle to survive because you, again, not to make any judgments or whatever, but the mechanism we spoke of about the age of having a child and being prepared, that if you're underprepared, I think that the impact that can then have on that child's development at such a young age that's vitally important for the development of cognition and relationships. Yeah, it can be massively. But then on the other side is that if you really can put that energy and that effort in, you can make resilient humans. You can build them so that, as long as you get that, I truly believe from what I've learned about like child psychology and my own psychology and my own experiences, etc., that it's what they reckon it's 12 months to about 3 years, to maybe some of the psychologists say 5 years. But you get right in there, basically the rest of it you can fix, because the rest of it's words. You can then talk to them. It's conceptual. You have to get the action right and prove that when they're young. Once you've taught them linguistics and the ability to communicate, you can then go, oh no, I was wrong about that. What it actually is this. And they go, oh, right, cool. And they can edit their own data. You can't edit those first experiences.
No, you can't, no. So because again, as well, their memories is not necessarily something that you're going to remember, but it's sort of engraved on your soul, isn't it? It's there, so it's etched in. Yeah.
I mean, this is what a lot of the, not to go too spiritualist, but the sort of the people that are looking at, I mean, everything from even like breath work through to ayahuasca and people working with MDMA treatments and things like that for PTSD, is they're starting to really understand. I mean, some people speak of birth trauma and say that that's the original trauma, and that there is something of the human consciousness that holds on to this traumatic experience. I'm not going to address that right now. I just wanted to put that there because somebody will probably chuck it in the comments. But from then youth of these traumatic events, because we can't conceptualize them and we can't put it into words. I can't go, I was this, I felt this and this, because when you think of it, almost you didn't have the language at the time, and it's very difficult for a lot of people to retrospectively put the ability to articulate and describe that experience. So it's never then obtainable for them to ever really do any work on it.
No, to process it or speak about it and then have something, somebody come back and say, well, actually, it is just there. So, that's really interesting.
One of the things that I find as well from friends that I've spoken over the years, as well as a parent in a hypervigilant state that's in this, I'm working 90 hours a week and I'm doing everything and they're in and out and that they can then, in their mind, and they've done the best thing for that child, but then maybe 15, 20 years later, if that child sits down with that parent and goes, do you remember this? And they have two different versions of that event. And then the trauma can often be as a defensive thing in the parent's point of view of going, I did my best. And then it's not allowing the child to explore the trauma from their point of view. It's not validating their emotions or their experience. And this, it can then compound it. And I think a lot of children die, a lot of children's parents die before they ever get to have those questions, ask those questions.
Definitely. Yeah, no, it is. And I think it's just like, again, I think it's the society that we live in and how you perceive that things should be, because if you slowed everything down, money, being rich and things doesn't mean that you're going to be a better parent. It's about time and understanding, and like you say, and representing and showing like how things, not should be, but just sort of like that that you can express yourself, and it hasn't got to be all, oh my god, like, I need to do this, or, I'm so tired, I'm not going to sit and do this and that, and it just, like you say, then it all adds up, and before you know it, years have gone, and it's sort of too late. So
yeah,
it's all about slowing down and being present.
Very true, especially with the technology and everything that we have at our fingertips. I must admit, I find myself sometimes overwhelmed. I mean, this morning I was a bit like, when I looked at my worksheet for today, I was like, oh my god, I'm basically with 3 recordings and 2 video chats, and then the writing deadline and all this other stuff, and I immediately got overwhelmed, like really like. And it's like,
it's a horrible feeling.
I'll do the one thing, then I can stop, I'll have a coffee and I'll plan, and then if I do this alongside this, and it's just having that space to reflect. And I think that I'm lucky in that I was able to learn that as an adult, but I'd have been far luckier if I was blessed to have learned that as a child.
I always think that, yes, definitely.
Do you know what I mean? So I think that parents like yourself, and you can see it in the love that you have for her and the way that you show it on social media. I think that she's not an object or a possession to you. She's not an accessory. She's not, this makes me look good. Just look how good of a person I am. Whereas a lot of parents, I feel, end up, their kids are an extension of their sense of identity, their ego, of going, well, my kid's the best kid and will have everything. And it's not something about your kid. You're saying that's your kid. It's like, do you know what I mean? They've almost missed that when you, or I feel, and I may be wrong here, I've not had children. Don't think about children. Don't leave that in the comments, ladies. But
I was going to say, it's going to be in the comments.
Jesus. For legal reasons, I'm currently not aware of any children that I have, and I have no intention to have any. So I may be wrong about sort of what I'm saying here, but I feel that you then raise a child, then if you make them feel that they grow in your shadow, you never give them the light. If the only time they see the light is when you die, I'm then thinking of cannabis plants in a grow room. And so growing in the shadow and not getting an opportunity. And it's, you're there, but you've ended your life cycle. And where's your potential? What have you got? There's a proverb I can't think of the tree that grows twisted in the shadow of the other one.
Yeah, I think I know what you're on about. I'm not sure though.
Yeah, and I think it's your child ultimately. If you really love them, frankly, get the fuck out of the way. Support them, love them, let them get hurt, and then help them. Let them make a mistake, then talk it through with them. Let them have you as a sounding board, as a place to come to for comfort and of curiosity. Don't ever make them feel afraid of you. Do you know what I mean? By all means, you have to be a disciplinarian. I'm not then saying let them all run around free hippie love, But
no, yeah.
But at the same time, you shouldn't. If you rule with an iron fist, again, you're probably missing the point. And I say that having never had a child scream in my face that I can't walk away from. Never having a child having a tantrum that I can't just go, well, see ya
in a bit, mate.
Yeah. So I can, but I mean, I can only speak of my experience of growing up and the environments that I grew up in, and the trauma that I still face as a man now approaching my 34th year, and I will probably face approaching my 64th year. We have to get right in youth these mechanisms, because the trauma, and it's not just into that one individual, it'll like a virus, it'll infect everybody in their lives and into society and into others. And if too many people are then damaged and traumatized in youth, then that denies us that beautiful potential future that we were speaking of before.
No, it does. Yeah, definitely. So yeah, she's my world. That's kind of like the main reason I do what I do. Obviously, I'd be lying if I say it wasn't for myself, and I'd like to be successful and not have to worry about certain things, and be proud of myself, especially again being told when I was growing up that I probably wouldn't achieve very much because I wasn't very academic and I had behavioral problems and things like that. Whereas, for myself, I kind of think like, no, I've done it all myself, and I'm going to do this, but at the same time, it's for my daughter. I want to be present. I don't want it to be that, oh, sorry, I can't, I've got to go work 12 hours. And, by the time I come back, you'll be asleep, or someone else will be coming to take you to school and things like that. And it's just, I just always wanted to avoid that. And I know people don't have that luxury, and I didn't necessarily have the luxury. I just made the conscious choice, and there's things that I go without. And for now that, but it's the way it has to be. Like, she comes first. And yeah, I just want this to, it's my baby as well. The Hempress is this, the brand and the business.
I was just thinking there. I'm kind of hoping that a backhanded consequence of COVID is more parents recognize, because they had the opportunity to spend more time with the kids, to, again, hopefully not to what the anecdote or the joke that I made earlier, if the parent realizing they don't like the kids and the kid doesn't like him. But then going, actually, wait a minute, if I work one less shift a week, yeah, we'll be X amount of money worse off. But if we change this habit, that habit, we eat this, we don't eat out there, we get more time together, more meaningful time together. If I then, because most people were able to binge through all the things they wanted to watch, so they were suddenly bored again for the first time. So instead of just going, we'll stick that on and we're fine, and stick that on and being constantly distracted and then scrolling at the same time, they were able to have the conversations with their family and engage with their children. And I think, or I'd like to think and theorize that is going to lead to more proactive parents. Do you know what I mean? So rather than just kind of being like, well, I've raised this thing, because it feels like a lot of people kind of go, well, the stress of it, all of a sudden, I've got this baby, like, shit, gotta look after it. And the next time they think about it is when they're 18 or they move out. Do you know what I mean? They literally kind of go, are we done?
Yeah.
We're done? We did it. Is it fine? Is it alive? Did it make it? It's got both legs.
Where's my certificate? Yeah.
Yeah. And then you just go, right. So what I was doing was, where's my dinner? Why are we in a different county? Why are we in a different country? You're so lost to it. I mean, I don't, again, like, even just with the cat, that's kind of my marker of my history over the past 15 years, is then sometimes look it up and kind of going, well, where the hell am I? What is this? It's like last time I had this memory of being here and I had this totem, this thing that was able to anchor me to different moments of my history. And then, but I think it must be even weirder with the child, because then the child's forever moving, it's growing. You look at it, women, I've heard women say, actually, they'll have to go away for a day or two and there's the baby, and they'll literally come back and see the structural changes and watch it like growing.
I do that. Like, if she spends the night away with like my mum, like with her nan, and then it's like, then she'll come back and I think, wow, you're so grown. When did this happen? Because it surely didn't just happen overnight. But yeah, you do, obviously you see them every day in, day out, don't you? So it is a bit more harder to see, but it does, and it goes so fast. And I just think, like, with all this, the coronavirus and all these lockdowns and the negative impact that it has, but I do think that there is some positives. Like you say, people did slow down, people did live in the moment and get outside and do things that they wouldn't normally do, but as a family or, together.
Yeah, I think a lot more people got appreciative of nature when we were told we were allowed that hour walk every day. People were like, all right, let's go find somewhere to walk. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think hopefully a lot of that will then again carry over. I mean, it's difficult because with raising inflation rates, with energy bills going up, with the pressures mounting in different sort of facets of our lives, it's going to be harder to spend that quality time together. I think, I hate the term, spending time together in the meat space is becoming the new luxury. For us to physically be in the same realm together, for us to be able to sort of touch each other and go somewhere, that is becoming the ultimate luxury. Do you know what I mean? People can, I'll talk to you on FaceTime or face chat, amalgamation of many things there, but talk to each other on like a FaceTime sort of basis while doing other work, while doing something else. And you go, I'll catch up on this TV program while I'll check this email, while I'm still in conversation with this, while I'm doing this. And we're always, everything
never in the moment anymore.
Yeah, we can't. A lot of us
get to the next one.
A lot of us can't identify the moment anymore. And if we do, it causes us anxiety, because we suddenly go, oh, and then your brain goes, you got 45,000 things to do in the next 10 minutes. And you're just like, and you catch back up again because you can't appreciate that moment. I'm sorry if anyone had that on really loud and just heard me scream in their ears there.
They're awake now.
Yeah, do not recommend this podcast for early morning listening. But yeah, it's this just mental state of reality that we're in, that I think to kind of tie us back to sort of the herb of the day, as it were, that cannabis really allows us to be in that moment. That I think that, again, some people experience the anxiety, as I've just kind of overly gestated and articulated there. Gestate is not the word I'm looking for. Add your own descriptor here, folks. Fill in your own blank. Basically the cannabis can cause some people to be anxious, can cause some people to react sort of in a way that they wouldn't sort of expect. But I think it's more akin to that mechanism of it's causing them to suddenly realize certain things, and it's that realization that's making them anxious, not necessarily the cannabis. I mean, there's an argument to be made for certain terpenes, but I think as a general sort of rule, the cannabis allows you to kind of stop for a minute, look at what you're doing, assess, and then take a step forward.
No, definitely. It's about, again, it's like what we said before, it's about knowing yourself and your needs, isn't it? And then, because I can consume cannabis one day, say, you know, it might have a high THC content, but you say if I'm in that state of mind where, you know, I've let everything sort of get to me, I'm feeling a bit overwhelmed, and I'm sort of, you know, honing in on things that need to be done, then if I was to like consume that, then I'll probably feel 10 times more anxious or more overwhelmed. Whereas if I was to then maybe just have something with higher CBD content in it, or like you say, like different terpenes, I probably feel like then that overwhelming feeling or like anxiety would subside a little bit, and then I can get back to to doing something and getting things done. So again, I think it's research, isn't it? It's research within yourself and understanding you, and then again the plant as well, and knowing what strain or what high, like, you know, what terpenes, what cannabinoid content that you need to help you in that moment.
Yeah, exactly that. It's having that awareness of your individual self, because there is no one size fits all, and the uniqueness of our endocannabinoid systems, effectively analogous to being like a fingerprint, means that there's not going to be a single solution. There's not going to be a one size fits all that's going to work here. And until we kind of accept that, we're not really going to get much further academically or commercially. I think with the industry, they're going to be quite stagnating, and they're just going to be bouncing around with what they're currently doing, which is going, does it work? Yeah, package it, sell it. Why does it work? We don't really care. You know what I mean? That's
it makes the money. Yeah,
that it's a scary concept, and it sounds a bit hyperbole, but honestly, from the researchers that I've spoken to, and these people, some of them have multiple PhDs, and they're like, it's just not being done. They don't really care. They know there's an endocannabinoid system, it fits on this receptor, here's the rough science, go. They're not then looking further into it. Obviously, they're trying to do these triple blind placebo-controlled trials, but in order to do that, they need synthetic and biosynthesized compounds and isolates, and they're only ever then going to prove the efficacy of an isolate. It's then never going to give us further information about how a full spectrum product works, you know what I mean? So as we spoke of earlier, there's so many of the different compounds that need to be explored, and that can affect different people. As I said, you and I could smoke the same cultivar and have two very different reactions. I mean, I could smoke the same cultivar on 2 different days and have very different reactions. This is the thing of it. It's so different, and it's not cannabis that changes. It's you. Yeah, exactly. And that's what we need to recognize, is we're the variable. You can't regulate cannabis into working it. It's understanding ourselves, and what if you're then tired, you know, then you're going to consume cannabis, you're more likely to then become sedated. You know what I mean? If you're energized, you smoke something, you're likely to continue that energization. That's not even a word. That continuation of that sort of emotional state or that feeling, dependent again on the nature of the profile. Some profiles will hit people like boom. There are some that I've come across. There was a cut of Master Kush that I came across a few years ago. They literally, I could smell it and I'd pass out. Like it was, I had a jar of it, and it was, I'd call it my bedtime joint, and it was literally, you get about that far down of it, roll it, and just
good night.
Yeah. Literally, some mornings I made the mistake of like waking back up and going, oh, go on then, yeah.
Oh no, get like, it in the old wake and bake.
Yeah. Not even a wake and bake, wake and dead, just straight back to sleep.
Wake and back to bed, yeah.
So again, being able to find those kind of things, and then going, well, all right, that's my sleeping pill. What is in that? Let me understand that and map that and know that, so that I can apply that to the rest of my life. Not only so that I can truly utilize it to go to sleep when I want, but I can then go, oh, that cultivar's got this in that I know puts me to sleep. I'm going to work, or I'm, out for the next 5-6 hours with friends or whatever. I don't want to pass out, so I don't want that. It allows me to make informed, decisions about what I'm consuming.
And that's what I mean. And whereas if it wasn't criminalized and this whole, the black market or whatever you want to refer to it is, you don't really, it's hard to say, isn't it? Because you get people that are passionate about the grow and they know the content and they'll share with you and they'll explain and you can have like a conversation about it. but not everybody knows about that. And I think if you was just to go out and purchase some or whatever, and then just to consume it, you don't know, you can't physically see with your own eyes the makeup of it. And then what if you have a bad reaction, or like you say, it enhances a certain feeling, then you think, okay, but then you're going to think then, oh, but then that's cannabis, that's what it does, and it does that to everybody. And but that isn't the case. So it's just such a shame that it's not, you can't walk into a shop and have it laid out in front of you and see the percentages and have somebody give you advice. And
yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Damn it, I'm trying to think if I can put this on the record. I think I can. If we're speaking, I'm not going to name the person, but basically in conversation the other day, I found out there's an Israeli-based company, a company based in Israel that basically mapping effectively a genome that are able to profile to your genome. They're able to sort of map you and look at certain deficiencies and certain things, and then use their database and the information that they've got to then pick and build like a broad spectrum product of isolates, compounds of this terpene, this cannabinoid, whatever, that they say will then maximize to your endocannabinoid system. Obviously, I have personal, I guess, issue with that, in that I feel it's not offensive. I'm not offended. I don't think it's the right way of describing it, but I feel it's an affront to nature to deny that it's spent millennia evolving into putting all of these compounds synergistically. And we already know from studies around the entourage effect that a terpene plus a cannabinoid is not going to equal an entourage effect. Cannabis terpene, as in a terpene derived from a cannabis plant with a cannabinoid derived from a cannabis plant grown synergistically, is going to do that. And we don't have a clue why yet. There's a lot of people theorizing, a lot of people doing whatever. There's a lot of people frankly fudging the science, and I'm quite happy to state that and put that on record and do a podcast if anybody wants to come and to have a conversation about that out there in the big wide world, because there is so much just bullshit going down at the minute. As I said before, it's marketing and advertising at this point. It's a lot of it really is that we've seen enough of it. We've got the anecdotal evidence. We've got enough that's accepted in academia and within the realms of regulation that we can package and sell this product. So therefore we're going to do it.
Yeah, definitely. I'd say it's this, it's come a long way. So yeah, exciting. That sounds interesting, but I think I'm the same as you. It's how does it exactly work? So yeah, it's all right just inputting and mapping and things like that, but
and it's then to what good if the system, the establishment still believes that it's about getting you just well enough for what? For me to continue to work 90 hours a week in your system? I want to consume cannabis and have a revelatory experience. I want to not quite meet God, as it were, but be able to really use that introspection and that metacognition to then question, do I want to continue working for this supermarket chain? Do I want to continue to pay a mortgage on this 5-bedroom house when actually we'd be quite happily in a 2-bedroom house, wouldn't we, love? Yeah, we would. Do you know what I mean? And the people that are like, well, actually, you know what? Well, we don't need another child, or we don't need 2 other pets, or we don't need 5 holidays a year. Just to be able to question the structure of your life and then to be able to make meaningful changes. I think that they're never going to prescribe that. They're never going to allow you to go into a doctor's office and go into the woods, smoke a really fat joint, and go look at the trees for a couple of hours. Listen to the wind.
Yeah, listen to some 528 hertz and meditate.
Yeah. They're never
let yourself go, love.
Yeah, they're never going to want to encourage that, really. That's always going to be hippy dippy and spiritual and holistic and alternative.
Well, they try to cram it into all of those stereotypes, don't they, to have that off-putting of people that just then give you the eye roll. And I think, like, actually, no, there's science and behind it, and yeah, but again, it's not made up stories.
It's the same as we were talking about with like the false dichotomies of so-called hemp and cannabis. You know what I mean? In that they're saying, oh yeah, bro. To your spiritualistness, but they're going, actually, well, what we're doing now is that we're going to prescribe outdoors, which is a thing. They're now prescribing going for a walk as a way to deal with depression and obesity, etc.
Yeah, mindfulness and things. Yeah,
exactly. Mindfulness was basically them going, right, how can we take the Buddhist traditions, remove anything potentially spiritual and about in beginning and emboldening the individual, and make it purely about making them a good capitalist consumer. They did the same thing with LSD. It went from tune in, turn on, tune in, drop out, as Timothy Leary would say, and counterculture and end the system to let's microdose enough LSD so that I can improve my efficacy, my work rate working in Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
The co-options of these things happen so fast, man. And I think
I know. So they always snap something up, don't they? Again, like CBD, but then incorporate it and take away the little bits and not give you the whole story. Well, not story, but the whole thing.
Yeah, we deserve that right to play, and I think people like yourself represent one of the multitudes and many facets within this industry that need champions of people that are passionate for the plant. There are far too many people, I would say, in your field that have chosen it because it's an easy way to make money. It's a way they can cash in on cannabis without having to go near the dangerous cannabis. Do you know what I mean? They never have to be associated with the grows and the so-called criminality and the underworld that is created by prohibition. Whereas I think, as we've sort of covered in this podcast, that you have a genuine passion for the plant, and I can see you sitting here, not necessarily on this podcast, but in decades to come, really having established a brand that is created through quality product, but also, like I said, the ethos of it is that you're not just trying to sell them shit. Everything is so well put together. I think in terms of your packaging, the upcycling, recycling of things, as you've seen, the mindfulness that you've put into every part of the acquisition procedure to getting that product to somebody's hand and bath.
Yeah, definitely. I was gonna say, it doesn't even feel like, you'd always hear that say that when I worked in the food industry, you'd have people and it's like, the passion and things. I never got it. And I used to think like, oh, I want to be passionate about something, and I want to career, and I want to do well, and like that was then, and I just never got the grasp of it, and I ended up getting quite ill, and with my mental health, so that sort of all ended. But with this, it doesn't feel like work. It just naturally flows, and then I'm like, that's what it's like to be passionate about something that you do and have a real love for it. And no, I don't know everything. I'm not a scientist, I'm not very academic. I know those things about myself, but I'm passionate and I want to learn and I want to know. And I just think, even as a human being, you're always healing, growing, learning, evolving. And it's just, and that's the same with the other parts of your life as well. And that's, with this, but I enjoy it and I love it, and the difference that it makes, and the people that I've seen that it, like you say, with cancer and people's stories, and it's crazy. I just, like, my head can't get around the fact that we just don't live in a world that you can't grow it, you can't heal yourself, you can't. I
very much feel like inside the multiverse, we are very much on one of the timelines that got it really wrong. There's some parallel realities just in the ether, just where we can't quite get.
I know, where Rick and Morty, what did you do?
Where they've got it right, man. And it's comforting to know that there's infinite realities where we got it right, but it's very disheartening to know there's infinite realities we got it wrong, and we just so happen to find ourselves in one of them. But I think through actions like yourself, through the creation of companies, and through the raising, not rearing, of children, with the ethos and the kind of mindset and philosophy that we are not even that. I mean, you're giving her the ability to make her own decisions and to form her own opinions in this world, and I think that is far more powerful and meaningful and beneficial to myself and others and the rest of society, because then they're not going to try to warp the world into what they want it to be. They're going to try to accept it for what it is, but then also seek
live in harmony,
to deal with injustice. Yeah. And so I wish you all the best with the company, and really do hope that the regulations relax and allow you to explore more research and development of other compounds and combining these things together. Because I think the cosmetics industry at the minute, they're really missing a trick. They're still looking at it as beauty, as it were. It's still that facade rather than function. Whereas I think that the function of these things in terms of delivery mechanisms for things like bath bombs, for balms, for moisturizers, things like that, really seriously, with things like eczema and skin conditions, that
it's amazing. Honestly, I'll never ever get bored of like seeing the difference, and not just my products, like other products on the market as well, that that are good and they are what they say they are. It's just crazy the difference it makes. And I think it's just even that ritual of people taking the time that they probably wouldn't normally to spend that extra 20 minutes in the bath, or to stand in front of the mirror and really look at yourself and apply this cream, and washing your face and things, stuff that people just think it's basic stuff. But again, you're not putting, especially when using my products, you're not putting toxins into your skin. You're using what Mother Earth and nature provides us, and it's like a ritualistic thing, and you're taking that time. And it's like we were saying earlier, when you're taking your CBD oil or things like that, you're just doing the little things, you feel so much better, and then it has an effect on the rest of your day and the rest of your life.
Yeah, I think it's like training an atrophied muscle, a muscle that's kind of broken down. And so the little by little, the more you do, the easier it gets, until it becomes almost a detriment to not do it. And I think you hit the nail on the head there of ritual. I think it's one of the things I point out as being so vitally important for people that can combust cannabis, whether they mix it with tobacco or not, is the ritual of sitting down, taking the time, skin, roach, rest, a joint bee or whatever else, back of lighters, inside of a box, fold of some trousers or whatever, and then building it, putting it together, and then the action of rolling, licking, patting down, twisting, and each different nuance of that step, that is the quintessence of humanity to me. I know that's going to sound quite extreme. It's like, just a bit of weirdo, but it's not. It's the intention. It's the ritualistic action of it. To me, that's something else. That is something I'm truly choosing to do for, to a betterment of myself, and yes, sometimes even as an escape, a form of escapism. But it's still, I'm doing something. With autonomy, I'm choosing something, and more so that it being illegal, because then I am taking into consideration all of the information and everything I know around me, and then still choosing that is the best course of action for me. And that, to me, makes me feel alive. It makes me feel human. Yeah, a little bit rebellious and cheeky, but it makes me feel that I am making a decision. I'm truly choosing what I'm doing.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah. I think a lot of people, that's why they're never going to get rid of, I think, combustion, that ritual, and then passing that joint as well. Sitting with a couple of people and passing a joint round is,
it's just a completely different feeling. And then, like
tribal.
you say, and then the conversations that you have that you wouldn't have, I don't think, if you wasn't sat there and sharing this plant, or I don't know, like, yeah.
It's interesting. I was just sort of thinking it there. I'll finish this point and I'll ask you my final question, because I'm sort of mindful of the time. But I think that as you pass that joint, even though, as we've talked about before, you get different responses to the terpenes and whatever else, I think it almost kind of standardizes the mental state of the people in that group. And so that's why then people end up laughing. You're smoking a bunch of 4 or 5 years and you just end up laughing at no shit. And then you'll talk in not full sentences, and it's broken kind of almost English, and you're communicating beyond linguistics because you're on that same level. The same happens with, I think, alcohol for certain points, but then people end up getting at different levels a lot quicker.
Yeah, no, like you say, so I think because you're not with your own thoughts, like you say, if it's just you on your own, and you've picked up this joint out the ashtray and you've had that, but then you're already feeling anxious and overwhelmed, and then it enhances that. Whereas if you're sat with a few people, you're not thinking about other things anyway. You're kind of more in the moment, because there's other people and there's other conversations, there's other things being said, and then you're passing this joint around, and like you say, I think you're all on this level and you're not thinking about the things that you would normally be thinking about. And I
think it's almost a sense of loneliness, isn't it? I think a lot of our anxiety comes from, am I the only one that thinks this? Why am I the only one that feels this? When I have an expression that I like to use, which is that if I was born you, raised you, lived as you, I would be sat there as you right now. I would have said every word that you would have said in this podcast. I would have acted, breathed, and committed to everything as you, because there is intrinsically only one consciousness. It's then the manifest experience and culmination of our decisions and our life experience that kind of makes us who we are at any given sort of moment. And I think in that we recognize it when we get stoned together, we get drunk, people take MDMA or whatever, and you have these open conversations, and you'll just kind of go, well, ooh, you're all right. Yeah, I got a bit funny about I get like that. Oh, do you? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Or when people express like I don't know, weird mechanisms, or embarrassing things, or silly things, or childish things, and you can express it to another person and they can see you for it, acknowledge it, and recognize that, I do that too. that is a powerfully healing thing, to feel that we are not alone.
Better than most therapy sessions, I can assure you.
Yeah, I can tell you, I have walked out of raves and come back on horrible come downs from free parties across the country with far better feeling of who I am as a person and my sense of self than I have left after 20 sessions I'm trying to say intrusive and intensive at the same time therapy.
No, definitely. I'll never forget my first free party, 2009, the year I left school, and it just completely, again, just something that opened me up to a whole different world. And like you say, to things that I thought that I only did or made me weird or like not deserving of things, was like you say, you sat there with somebody and then it's kind of like, oh no, I feel like that, I've done that, and you're like, oh actually, and then you just and it's a good overwhelming feeling of like, oh, I'm actually okay, like I can actually do this, like so amazing. Again, something else that's tried to be suppressed and you're not allowed to do, and things. They don't like you being together, I think that's what it is. When we get together, amazing things can happen.
Yeah, and it's not because we have a propensity to violence or even to revolution. It's that our revolution is love. And that sounds like the most hippie thing I've said in a while. But I mean it in the sense that love is not possessive. Love is not ownership. It is not hierarchical. Love is the sense that, I mean, I love everything because it is what makes up my life. You know, I mean, I'm really trying to love traffic at the minute. Like actually get into every time somebody cuts me off or somebody does something stupid or I end up in a moment of wanting to be like, to go,
yeah,
that's a lesson right there. That's a lesson. What the hell do I need to learn there? Okay, all right, fine. And then trying to be curious of the situation and kind of sit with it. And that's what I mean, is that to love life is not to then be toxic positivity. It's not to then only see the good. It's not to then deny the bad or to soften the edges. Really, it's actually to dive fully, beautifully, raw,
immerse
naked, and
yourself,
swim into the waters of life. And it's who's the quote? Is it Rumi? Rumi says, "Step into the flames of your life. Do not worry. The only things that will burn are not you." Do you know what I mean? It's in the analogy. It's like that your garb will burn away, whatever you're dressed in, whatever you believe yourself to be will disappear. All that will be left is you. And we find that in moments where, you know, you do things of bravery, people that do, you know, scuba diving, skydiving, you know, things like that, or people that race cars and get adrenaline going, even, you know, but it's even to the smaller things, for raising children and whatever else. We have these moments where we step into this great fear and this great unknown, and it embiggens us, it empowers us, and it leaves us feeling, okay, I've got this. Because do you know what it is? Most of the time, the human experience is overwhelming. Consciousness is terrifying.
yeah.
So to have these moments where you go, you're scared shitless too? Cool.
Yeah, we're in this together.
And I think that's why we're not necessarily like, but in a morbid way, we slow down for car accidents. The world stood still at 9/11. You know, we watch war documentaries, we have action movies and violent
crime,
films and MMA and all of these things. Is that we stand in a collective in a moment of looking at it and going, we could all, that's all of us. That's any of us. And it's a moment of collective realization of our collective humanity, I feel. And that, again, cannabis, and to some degree, stronger extent, other substances and compounds can really have that profound, extreme connection between individuals that, when focused and done consciously, can undo a lifetime of trauma and indoctrination into very hateful and small and divisive worldviews.
Definitely, yeah. Something so, I don't know, something that you probably feel like that's consumed your life for ages, and then, like you say, you can just speak to that one person or share an experience, a trip or a joint, and it just, it's completely just like your prayers have been answered almost. And you just, I think it's a crazy concept, really. But then I think that's why it's always been suppressed and criminalized, and, you know, they don't want our minds to be open, and they certainly don't want us to share that knowledge with one another.
And that's why we do podcasts, we write blogs, we still do free parties, and we gather together illegally. You know, it's people are gonna,
the people will always win. Yeah, people to the power to the people.
Yeah, man, for sure. All right, I've thoroughly enjoyed this. I'm gonna
me too, thank you.
end this with my question that I ask everybody. which is, what does the future hold for you?
Well, that's a really good question.
Quite a big
Obviously,
question. I should have probably
yeah, I don't have
warned
my
you up front. Well,
like a
in
full
April we're doing
decision.
this, then may I look?
Yeah, just hang on a moment. I'll be back. No, to be fair, I want to be happy, healthy. I want my business to be successful, and I think success means different things to different people. I just still want to be here making products and people using my products and having positive, benefits, and I want to get out there more and be more active and sort of end that stigma and sort of make positive changes within the industry and help people as well and make sure that they're got all that they need to, if they want to step into the same industry as me. I get a lot of people that reach out and ask like the right way to do it, and then you see people that, again, I think they just jump on it to make some quick money, and you think, you probably shouldn't really be putting that in there, or have you got this and that. And again, it's not my business, I let people tend to get on with it, but I'm always there to help. And I kind of think I want to focus a bit more on that, as well as making products, is to be able to help others.
Yeah, I think that, again, a lot of people need not guidance as in sort of the hand holding, but you don't know what you don't know until you don't know it. I think I said that correctly. And that's very true of this industry. You said sort of additives and things like that people can end up putting something in because, well, they Googled it and that's what the Google said. And then the uninformed, it's what does it say, the blind lead in the blind, and it ends up, they then create a standard for an industry that the people that actually use the product or are informed going, well, none of that is true. And I think you're in a position that through your own research and development and through direct feedback and actively being present within the community you seek to serve and not being separate from it. For all you do cosmetics, you've never sought to, well, I need to not be near cannabis. Do you know what I mean? You've not tried to gentrify or create a deliberate barrier between yourself and the community. And I think that's applaudable. And I do hope that people respond to that. And then when they come to want to spend the money, they don't just look at, again, our favorite two, Boots and Body Shop. They then go, well, actually, who's in the community? Because every time somebody buys a product from you, that's helping you raise, not rear, your child. Whereas if you then pin it to Boots or someone like that, all you're doing is helping a corporation dodge more tax. Do you know what I mean?
And then, pay their workers not really enough anyway, that the time that they're leaving their 18-hour shift or whatever it is, that they've only just barely got enough money to pay the bills and like the things that we were talking about earlier, isn't it, really? And the stresses that it causes. But and for me as well, a lot of it goes back into the business and just being able to expand, especially with ingredients and things. Unfortunately, the inflation of prices, and it does make it difficult as a small business, but we keep going, we're going strong. And the future is just to still be here and making a difference. And hopefully being at more events as well. I'd like to sort of vend at more events. Obviously it's hard with childcare, but
Okay, yeah, well, hopefully a lot of people will get to see you events across the UK, this country. I'll obviously include a link in the bio to shop and social media and whatnot, so people can check out the products that we've been discussing.
Come say hi.
And I just wanted to again say thank you very much for taking the time and sitting down and just saying we got 2 hours there. I mean, you were nervous about giving me 10 minutes 6 months ago, so I just wanted to say you've done really well with that.
I was going to say, it's another thing. I get really worked up, and then usually my head will be making all these excuses. But I think it's because we're quite, I'm quite familiar with you, and I know what you're about, and I really sort of idolize you. You're very inspiring and a knowledgeable man, and I appreciate you. So, but I wasn't as nervous, and I just feel like I think the more I'm trying to push myself to do more things like that, do lives, and the things that I would normally shy away from. But I know that they're important, and for myself as well. Self-improvement. I'm just pushing myself a little bit more, so I appreciate that. Thank you for your time.
I mean it, and thank you for the compliments. And I hope that then this acts as inspiration to all of the, I was gonna say little Amy's out there, but the people out in the world that are then looking and wanting to be involved in cannabis, especially women in cannabis. You don't have to jump into the boys' end of flavor chasing and all the rest of it. And I don't say that derogatorily to the geezers out there. I'm saying that with love.
It's where your passion is, isn't it? It's what you
Exactly. And I want to see in the future all of, in the colleges, the beauticians. That was the word I think I was looking for earlier. So beauticians, and that they're then taught as part of their training about
of their course,
about cannabinoids, about how CBD can work and stuff, and about inflammation of the skin and how all of it, and the hair. I want to see that built in this, and then gives them an opportunity to build brands, to build legacy. I do not want to see, and I'm sorry, I'm probably gonna get sued by these fuckers, but we'll say it again for the last time. Boots and Body Shop taking over the goddamn industry. They've had their time. They put pollutants in their products. They put petroleum-based byproducts. They promoted child slavery. Yeah. They promoted ecological environmental destruction. That's definitely going to get me sued. But the point is that they're not the industries of the future. It is the bespoke, craft, compassionate, small batch industry makers like yourself that I think really deserve that market share. So I will continue to support your products and yourself, and yeah.
Oh, thank you so much.
Every success for you.
Oh, thank you. Well, yeah, I look forward to, and hopefully we'll be able to catch each other at some events this year as well. It'd be cool.
Yeah, for sure. All right. So yeah, we will do a little bit of housekeeping now, folks. Just wanted to say thank you very much to y'all if you made it through this podcast, and if you found it interesting, do please follow Amy on social media and check out Hempress UK in the links in the descriptors below. Please do not report me to Boots and Body Shop. I cannot be asked with a lawsuit with those guys. Please though, if you're going to go to those efforts, like, share, subscribe, and check us out on
sorry, I lost you.
Man down. Hi. So Patreon. Yeah, do check us out on Patreon, where for less than a cup of coffee a week, you can help me keep the lights on and the bills paid. And yeah, we can continue to get unique and wonderful guests such as Amy to provide you insight into all of the different facets of the industry. So yeah, please do like, share, subscribe, and all that good stuff. And we'll see you next week with I don't know, somebody, another person. I'm sure they'll be interesting. Peace and love, folks.